Finally, you're done playing the saint. Time to speak the truth they've been choking on. You didn't win because you screamed louder. You won because you didn't flinch while the circus burned. The scene was filthy, lies crawling across your name, cowards whispering in corners, fake smiles painted over guilt. And still, you walked through it untouched. That silence of yours. It wasn't weakness. It was execution. You made every rumor die of starvation because you stopped feeding it. That's the moment the universe leaned in and said, now they'll learn. You didn't just survive the storm. They did. Barely. Their reputations are still limping, dragging the weight of their own nastiness, while you came out cleaner than sunlight on glass. Press the like button, subscribe, and pay this message forward. Let them see the chosen ones multiply. You didn't beg for closure. You became the closure. While they rehearsed fake apologies in their heads, you were busy upgrading your peace. You never asked the universe to expose them. It did that on its own, piece by piece, through their own desperate need to look innocent. Every time they opened their mouth, they revealed another fracture. That's what makes you dangerous. You don't have to fight back. You just have to stay real. The truth is, you terrified them. Your calm turned into a mirror that showed them everything they pretend not to be. People like that can't stand stillness. It reminds them how fake their confidence is. You didn't raise your voice, but they heard you anyway. Because silence from a strong person echoes louder than screams from the weak. That's why the air changed after you left. That's why they act polite now. They felt what happens when the universe starts protecting someone you can't manipulate. There's always that moment after chaos when everything gets quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like judgment. That's where you live now, not in revenge, not in pity, but in power. They expected you to be broken, to crawl back, to explain yourself. Instead, you walked out without a single word, leaving them stuck with their own guilt. They've been rehearsing explanations ever since, but no one's listening. Their stories don't land anymore because your composure rewrote the ending. Psychologists have a name for it: emotional containment. Most people can't hold it together for 2 minutes under pressure. They twitch, lash out, expose their fear. You built an empire out of restraint. You didn't run from confrontation. You absorbed it, dismantled it, and sent it back gift-wrapped in your silence. That's what drives them insane. You made their chaos look cheap. You know what's wild? The same people who plotted your downfall are now obsessed with your discipline. They replay the moment you didn't react, like it's a crime scene they can't solve. They wonder what kind of strength it takes to stay still while the world's trying to humiliate you. That's the curse of hurting someone who's mastered themselves. You can't destroy what's already been rebuilt from pain. Your story isn't about revenge. It's about exposure. You didn't need to humiliate them. Life handled that chore. All you did was keep your hands clean while their lies got heavy enough to crush them. That's not luck. That's law. Universal cause and effect. You planted silence and you harvested respect. Now they can't look you in the eye without remembering the mess they made. They smile too hard, talk too fast, try to rewrite history, but it's too late. The narrative is sealed. The one they tried to bury turned out to be the foundation. The one they mocked became the mirror. They don't clap for you in public, but in private, they study you. They copy your tone, your walk, your way of not reacting, because deep down, they know the truth. They met someone untouchable, and you didn't get that way through ego. You got that way through suffering that should have broken you, the kind that leaves most people hollow, but somehow filled you with precision. Every villain story starts with betrayal, but yours ends with evolution. They thought they ruined your reputation. Instead, they revealed your character. The universe has a funny sense of humor. It always lets the fake ones speak first. Then it lets the silence of the real ones finish the story. You're not here to prove anything anymore. You're here to remind them what control looks like. This is what happens when the chosen one stops explaining and starts embodying. The show's over. The mask is off. The lesson's been delivered, and every person who tried to humiliate you is now living inside the punchline they wrote for someone else. And now, chosen one, since you're still here, sitting in that silence you earned, let's pull the curtain back even further. You've already proven you can handle the storm. Now it's time to understand why the universe made you walk through it in the first place. This next part isn't for the average soul. It's for the one who stayed calm while surrounded by venom. So if you're still standing after all that filth they threw at you, drop the number 777 in the comments. That's your quiet way of saying, I'm still composed, still untouchable. Stay locked in till the end, because what's coming next will explain exactly why your silence scared them more than any revenge ever could. Let's begin. Number 1, you didn't react. You rewired the whole game. They wanted to see you explode. Instead, you evolved, and nothing terrifies a coward more than the person who learned to weaponize peace. You didn't react. You recalibrated the battlefield. When the mob circled you, waiting for you to slip, you didn't give them the show they wanted. You gave them silence so heavy it echoed. They expected chaos, tears, begging, rage, something human they could feed on. Instead, they met strategy. You didn't play defense. You redesigned the entire board. They came armed with gossip, manipulation, and emotional bait, but you didn't bite. You watched them unravel from their own hunger for attention. That's the kind of psychological precision they'll never understand. When you didn't react, it wasn't weakness, it was warfare. You let their venom hit the floor instead of your veins. Every insult was an unpaid invoice they had to keep for themselves. They wanted you flustered. You gave them poise. They wanted panic. You gave them silence. The truth is, they never expected you to have that kind of control. They underestimated your patience, your timing, your understanding of how energy actually works. They forgot that restraint isn't absence of emotion, it's mastery of it. You didn't just survive the attack, you studied it in real time, decoded their intent, and let it implode right where it started. It's poetic, really. They built a stage for your breakdown and ended up performing their own. While they shouted, you observed. While they plotted, you adjusted. And when the dust settled, they were standing in their own wreckage, wondering why the applause stopped. They mistook your silence for surrender, but silence was your signal to the universe. Watch what I do next. People who live off drama are allergic to peace. Your calm exposed their addiction. They feed on reaction because reaction gives them oxygen. You cut off their air supply. That's why they panicked. That's why they started twisting stories, trying to provoke more scenes. But the game was already over. The moment you stopped responding, their power source died. The silence became a mirror, and they saw themselves for what they really were: small, insecure, hollow. That's the part that burned the most. You didn't just restrain emotion, you transformed it. That's a skill most never develop. You turned chaos into clarity, hatred into higher ground. That's emotional alchemy, the art of converting poison into purpose. They tried to drag you into the mud, but you used it to build a foundation. You weren't avoiding confrontation, you were engineering balance. Every moment they tried to ruin your peace, you refined your power. And that's what scares them now. They can't predict someone who no longer plays by their emotional rules. Most people would have snapped. The average person can't go 5 minutes without defending their name. But you learned that real control isn't in proving you're right. It's in knowing you don't need to. Every insult, every betrayal, every petty jab was data. You studied their behavior like a case study in weakness. You saw how desperate they were to be seen as superior, and you let them hang themselves with their own performance. That's not cruelty. That's consequence. It's wild how the universe rearranges things once you stop chasing justice. You didn't have to expose them. Their actions did it for you. You didn't have to fight for peace. You became peace. And when someone reaches that level, every manipulator around them starts to decay. Their lies lose oxygen because you stopped validating them. Their drama feels pointless because you stopped auditioning for their chaos. That's when they realize the danger of underestimating a calm mind. It wins wars without throwing a single punch. They're still confused, by the way. They replay that moment, the one where they thought they got you. They expected tears, confrontation, maybe even self-destruction. Instead, you gave them indifference so cold it froze their ego. That's when it hit them. You're not the same person they started with. You evolved mid-battle. You went from being reactive to being radioactive, untouchable, unshakable, unbothered. They can't approach you anymore without feeling the burn of their own shame. The beauty of this transformation is that you didn't fake peace. You earned it. You bled for it. You had to watch people misrepresent you, disrespect you, discard you, and still not lose your integrity. That takes steel. That takes years of mental reconstruction. You had to learn that sometimes silence screams louder than defense, that dignity isn't about pride, it's about peace. And when you understood that, everything changed. You stopped needing to win arguments and started winning reality. They'll call it arrogance, but deep down, they know it's ascension. You stopped fighting to be understood by the blind. You realized that their chaos wasn't personal, it was projection. You just happened to be the mirror that reflected it too clearly. And when reflection doesn't flatter, people attack it. You let them, because while they were busy breaking mirrors, you were busy building empires. The irony is brutal. Their hate made you disciplined, their doubt made you focused, and their betrayal made you sovereign. You didn't react because you had bigger plans than proving a point. You had a destiny that didn't require their validation. They thought they exposed you, but you were using that exposure as fuel. You let their judgment refine you, and in the process, you became the version of yourself that even they have to respect. Silently, bitterly, reluctantly. You mastered the art of not flinching in the face of disrespect, and that's the kind of composure that terrifies fragile egos. You didn't match their energy, you forced them to confront their own. They realized too late that while they were trying to trigger you, you were teaching them restraint. You were conducting a masterclass in self-control disguised as indifference. And here's the quiet truth that settles at the end of every war like ash. You never needed to destroy them. They did that themselves the moment they tried to harm someone who no longer reacts. You are proof that revenge isn't loud. It's clean. It's the look on your face when you walk away unbothered. It's the peace in your eyes that reminds them they lost access to you. It's your silence that echoes like a verdict. The world worships loud victories, but the chosen ones understand something deeper. Sometimes the most violent move is stillness. You didn't react because you were too busy rewriting reality. You didn't fight back because you already owned the battlefield. You didn't argue because you were crafting your legacy. So let them whisper, let them stare, let them wonder how you made stillness look so lethal, because while they drowned in their own noise, you became the storm they'll never recover from. Number 2. You made dignity look like warfare. They expected you to snap. Instead, you smiled. Nothing terrifies a guilty soul more than someone who can stay graceful in the middle of a battlefield they built. They thought dignity was fragile, something soft, something quiet. But you turned it into artillery. You didn't need chaos to prove strength. You made stillness look lethal. When the storm came, you didn't shout over the thunder. You became the silence that swallowed it whole. That's what they'll never admit. It wasn't your words that broke them. It was your refusal to descend. You didn't argue, you ascended. You didn't fight, you outgrew. That's what made you dangerous. Imagine this, a battlefield where every insult, rumor, and cheap trick is a bullet flying in slow motion. Most people would flinch, duck, fire back. You stood still. You let their bullets melt into smoke before they reached you. You turned their war into a performance and walked through it like it was a runway. You made composure the new chaos, and the crowd couldn't tell if they were watching destruction or art. Real strength is when your silence forces them to hear themselves. They called you too calm because they mistook power for passivity, but you knew better. Calmness is strategy. Anger is exposure. You let them choke on their own noise while you conserved your energy for something greater. Evolution. You didn't waste breath explaining your value to people who only listen to drama. You knew that explaining yourself to liars is like watering plastic flowers. No matter how much effort you pour in, nothing real grows. So you stopped trying. That's the moment your dignity turned into a weapon. And they felt it. The room changed when you entered. The same ones who used to talk over you suddenly couldn't maintain eye contact. You became a mirror that reflected everything fake about them. That's why they whispered. That's why they avoided you. Because your peace was no longer peace. It was a judgment. It reminded them how much noise they need just to feel relevant. The loudest person in the room isn't winning. They're bleeding. People expected you to lose control, to react, to scream. They built their trap expecting fireworks, but instead they got silence sharp enough to cut through tension like glass. You walked away with your head high, and that gesture alone humiliated them more than 1,000 insults ever could. You didn't lower your vibration. You made them realize how low theirs actually was. You turned restraint into dominance. Imagine a courtroom where every lie collapses because the defendant refuses to speak. That was you. You let truth do its quiet work while everyone else scrambled to rewrite their lines. You gave them no performance to twist, no weakness to feed on. Your absence of reaction became the evidence. That's how you won, by refusing to play their game. They wanted to provoke, to get a rise out of you, to make you forget who you are. Instead, you reminded them who they are. Every time they tried to humiliate you, your composure turned into a reflection of their desperation. They couldn't stand it. They mistook your silence for shame, not realizing it was their own reflection looking back. You didn't embarrass them in public. You let the universe embarrass them in private. You didn't chase vindication. You let consequence deliver it. There's a difference between losing the argument and losing the war. And you've always known which one matters. You understood that reputation built on noise collapses under silence. So you waited, patiently, strategically, and when their lies started to rot, the truth began to smell sweet again. You don't destroy a liar by shouting louder. You destroy them by outlasting their performance. Your dignity was the demolition. It dismantled their illusions piece by piece. Every rumor they spread only made you look more composed. Every attack they launched only exposed their insecurity. You didn't have to prove innocence. Your energy proved it for you. That's the thing about people who operate in darkness. They never realize how bright someone's composure looks until it blinds them. You turned every insult into armor. Every betrayal became a brick in your reconstruction. While they were busy breaking their character, trying to break yours, you were building endurance. You stopped reacting not because you didn't care, but because you understood that their chaos wasn't worth your peace. That's a level of maturity most people will never reach. Imagine a chessboard. They're moving pawns in panic, trying to provoke your queen. You just watch. One wrong move from them, and the board resets in your favor. That's how you handled it. Calm, calculated, cold enough to remind them that not every battle is fought with noise. Some are won with posture. Your silence became symphonic. It wasn't emptiness, it was strategy in motion. You used your stillness to collect information, to let their true nature reveal itself. And when the truth finally unfolded, it wasn't because you forced it. It was because you waited. That's the terrifying part for them. They realized you don't need revenge. The universe handles that kind of accounting. They call your calm intimidating now. They whisper about how different you've become. Of course you've changed. Growth looks arrogant to the ones who refuse to evolve. Your composure reminded them of everything they lack: self-respect, control, direction. That's why they talk about you when you're not around. It's their way of staying close to what they can't become. Dignity isn't quiet because it's weak. It's quiet because it's undefeated. You made restraint look violent. You made elegance look like rebellion. Your stillness wasn't submission, it was sovereignty. And the world is still trying to process that. The same people who mocked your silence now mimic it. The same ones who called you emotionless now call you admirable. They're learning that grace isn't about letting people walk over you. It's about walking away so powerfully that the ground remembers your steps. They'll never admit it, but you scared them. They didn't expect to lose power to someone who didn't even play the game. You beat them using principles, not pride. You proved that dignity isn't decoration, it's defense. It's the armor you wear when everyone else is too naked in their insecurity to stand tall. And now they act different around you, polite, careful, pretending the past didn't happen. But it did. You remember every word, every smirk, every attempt to drag you down. You just don't carry it anymore. You're too light for that now. They're the ones carrying it, the weight of knowing they underestimated someone who fought with silence and still won. You redefined what victory looks like. It's not screaming, "I told you so." It's walking past them with composure so cold it makes their guilt sweat. It's not proving your worth. It's existing so authentically that their lies dissolve on impact. Imagine this final scene, you walking away, shoulders straight, heartbeat calm, while behind you, their empire of manipulation crumbles like wet paper. That's not fantasy. That's the reality you created by refusing to lose yourself. Because when the world expected you to react, you responded with refinement. When they threw dirt, you turned it into ground to rise from. You made grace look like revenge and composure look like conquest. That's why people are so impressed by how you handled that disgusting situation, because you didn't just survive it, you turned it into art. Number 3. You proved that clean hands can still win dirty battles. They used mud. You used truth. Guess which one still stains them? You played in a rigged arena and still walked out spotless, while they twisted words, staged pity, and bent rules like clowns juggling lies. You stayed upright. You didn't need schemes. You had standards. That's the part that hurts the most. You fought in a world where cheating is considered strategy, yet you still won with honesty. That's not luck. That's precision. You didn't play fair because you had to. You played fair because you could afford to. They thought kindness made you naive. They mistook integrity for inexperience. But when their lies started collapsing under their own weight, they finally learned the truth. A clean conscience doesn't crumble. Imagine standing in a room full of smoke and still breathing clear air. That was you. Every rumor they launched came back like a boomerang, hitting them harder each time. You never had to clap back. The universe kept the receipts. Honesty doesn't always win fast, but it never loses forever. You didn't rush to defend yourself because you knew something deeper. Truth has a longer shelf life than manipulation. Lies decay. They need constant feeding, constant editing. But truth, it just waits. You understood that time is the great equalizer, the silent judge that exposes everything. So while they sprinted to cover their tracks, you walked, unbothered, knowing the path was already clearing itself for you. They thought your silence meant surrender. It meant patience. You knew the game wasn't about who shouted first. It was about who was still standing when the noise died down. And when it did, guess who was left? You. Calm, collected, unapologetically real. They couldn't stand it. You were living proof that integrity doesn't make you weak. It makes you untouchable. Imagine this, two people in the mud, one thrashing to prove innocence, the other standing still, letting the dirt slide off. The one who moves least stays clean. That's how you did it. You didn't join their mess. You let their behavior reveal itself. You understood that exposure doesn't require action, just consistency. In a corrupt system, the pure become proof that justice still breathes. You didn't just survive their smear campaign, you flipped it. Their lies became your promotion, their gossip became your marketing. Every attack designed to destroy your image only highlighted your composure. Because when people see you stay honest in a dishonest world, they remember it. That's what makes you dangerous now. You turned morality into momentum. They can't compete with someone who wins without playing dirty. You rewrote the playbook. You showed that power built on deceit collapses faster than pride built on truth. You didn't just take the high road. You owned it. You made integrity fashionable in a time when fakeness is currency. That's why they can't stop talking about you. They're haunted by the realization that the person they tried to bury ended up being their moral reminder. They threw dirt to bury you, not knowing you were a seed. You never fought to prove who you were. You lived in a way that made proof unnecessary. And now, those who once mocked your honesty try to imitate your composure. They want your peace, but not your process. They want your results, but not your restraint. But the truth is, you earned that peace through patience most people don't have. You didn't play divine, you played disciplined. And that's what flipped the script. You didn't win by chance, you won by character. Every manipulator eventually gets exposed, not by words, but by comparison. You were the mirror they couldn't stand to look into. Your name stayed clean while theirs became a cautionary tale. Now they linger, acting civil, pretending nothing happened. But deep down, they remember. They remember how their lies died quietly while your silence lived loudly. They remember thinking they destroyed your reputation, only to realize they strengthened it. And you remember too, but not with bitterness, with wisdom. You learned that in this world, you don't have to play dirty to survive. You just have to stay clean long enough for the dirt to wash itself away. That's your legacy now. Not vengeance, not validation, vindication through composure. You proved that clean hands can win dirty battles, and in doing so, you became what every schemer fears, the person they can't defeat without becoming honest themselves. Number 4, you became the mirror that made evil see itself. You didn't expose them, you just stood there and their reflection did the rest. You became their judgment without ever lifting a finger. The moment you stopped reacting, their performance fell apart. They were feeding off your energy, waiting for your outburst, craving your defense, but you gave them nothing, just silence, still, piercing, surgical, and in that stillness, something terrifying happened. They saw themselves. Every lie they told, every game they played, every projection they threw, suddenly it echoed back at them like thunder in a hollow room. You didn't fight darkness, you held up a mirror to it, and the reflection was unbearable. Evil never fears punishment, it fears recognition. That's what broke them. You didn't yell, argue, or seek revenge. You just existed in truth so raw, it stripped the paint off their mask. Your energy became an X-ray machine. Every false smile, every manipulative tone, every insincere apology lit up under your presence. It wasn't magic, it was clarity. You didn't have to say a word because authenticity is the loudest silence there is. They call it awkward tension. You call it truth doing its job. Imagine this, a spotlight in a dark room, and you're the one holding it without even trying. The liars squint, the fakes flinch, and suddenly everyone's scrambling for excuses. That's what it felt like being around you. You didn't expose them, they exposed themselves just by standing next to someone who no longer needed to lie. You didn't mirror their cruelty, you mirrored their emptiness. That's why they avoided your eyes. Because the reflection wasn't you, it was them, unmasked and uncomfortable. You can't hide from a mirror that doesn't blink. They started calling you cold, distant, different. But that was projection too. You weren't cold, you were clear. You stopped catering to delusion. You stopped making room for people who needed you small to feel significant. When you withdrew your emotional participation, their illusions started collapsing. That's when they realized the truth. They were never fighting you. They were fighting their own reflection, bouncing off your composure. Every manipulator relies on distortion. They twist narratives, blur facts, and gaslight until people doubt their own reality. But you didn't bend, you stayed still, and in that stillness, distortion died. You became the mirror that refused to warp. That's why it hurt so bad. You made deception see its own shape for the first time. They felt naked around you because your calm stripped away every layer of pretense they built to survive. You didn't destroy them. You let them self-destruct in the truth they couldn't face. Your silence wasn't absence, it was exposure. Every time you said nothing, the weight of their guilt got louder. They thought they could out-talk you, but you had already won the moment you refused to respond. Truth doesn't argue, it just exists. And existence alone was enough to unravel everything false around you. That's the power they'll never understand. Your ability to reveal everything without revenge, without drama, without words. People noticed, too. They saw how certain faces looked uneasy around you, how fake confidence cracked in your presence. You didn't need to announce who was lying. Their discomfort did that for you. That's the price of authenticity. It exposes deception without trying. You became the line that divided real from false, peace from poison, and everyone who crossed it got burned by their own reflection. You didn't humiliate them, they humiliated themselves trying to destroy someone who couldn't be manipulated. You didn't play their game, and that made the game collapse. You didn't clap back because you realized silence is the most humiliating sound for someone who lives off chaos. And when you refused to react, they realized the awful truth. They were irrelevant now. Their power was borrowed, and you just stopped lending it. So now they talk softer around you, they avoid eye contact, they fidget when you enter the room. That's not fear, it's self-recognition. You remind them of every time they lied, every time they betrayed, every time they pretended to be better than they were. Your presence became the reflection they can't escape. You're not punishing them, you're reminding them. The irony is beautiful. They tried to smear you with lies, and now those lies live on their own faces. They tried to paint you as cruel, and now cruelty stains their energy. You stayed still long enough for their own shadow to confess. And the universe made sure everyone saw it. You are proof that reflection is the most merciless form of justice. You didn't raise your hand, you raised the frequency. And when truth vibrates high enough, deceit can't survive the sound. You became the mirror that made evil see itself. And that's why they'll never forgive you, because you didn't destroy them. You made them finally see who they are. Number 5. You let consequences speak louder than retaliation. You didn't seek revenge. You became the reminder that time never forgets a debt. You understood something they never could. The universe doesn't need help collecting receipts. Every action carries its own return address, and you didn't need to stamp it. While they laughed behind closed doors, you let silence take notes. While they plotted your embarrassment, you stood still and let cause meet effect. That's not weakness, that's warfare with patience. You didn't chase karma, you became the reason it arrived on schedule. They thought you'd come swinging, they thought you'd lose control, break character, and prove them right. Instead, you just watched. You knew time cuts deeper than words, cleaner than vengeance. You let their lies ferment. You let their manipulation breathe just long enough to rot. And when it did, it stank so loud the world couldn't ignore it. You didn't even have to point fingers. Their own patterns testified against them. Revenge demands your energy. Justice collects interest while you sleep. Imagine this. A courtroom where no one speaks, no one defends, no one attacks, just silence, and suddenly the guilty start confessing without being asked. That's what you created. You let consequence speak a language no argument can interrupt. While they were busy painting you as the villain, time was quietly revealing the real one. Every insult they threw, every lie they crafted, every setup they designed, it all boomeranged. The energy didn't vanish, it recalculated. You knew the equation. Send out poison, receive pain multiplied. That's why you stayed calm. You understood that retaliation might win the moment, but patience wins the legacy. You chose the long game, the kind that ends with silence and shame, swallowing your enemies whole. You don't have to destroy them, just outlast their own chaos. They called your restraint cowardice. Fine. They needed to believe that to sleep at night. But what they didn't realize is that your silence was a setup, a quiet, invisible countdown. Every seed they planted against you was watered by their own deceit. You didn't need to strike, you just had to let the season change. And when it did, everything they built on dishonesty collapsed without warning. You didn't need to curse them, their choices did that. You didn't need to fight for respect. Their karma handed it back to you wrapped in irony. The stage they built for your humiliation became the stage for their exposure. They wrote the script, but life edited the ending. Retaliation gives satisfaction. Consequence gives closure. You taught the world a brutal truth. Silence is not surrender. It's sentencing. You weren't waiting for revenge. You were watching for results. And they came, slowly but surely, in ways no human could orchestrate. You didn't raise your voice, yet the universe screamed on your behalf. The same crowd that once mocked you now whispers about what mysteriously went wrong for them. But you know, every falsehood, every smear, every manipulation, they're paying interest on it now. You didn't retaliate because you understood scale. You knew your energy was too expensive to spend on temporary satisfaction. You didn't need to ruin them. You just let their own momentum drag them into the walls they built. You let consequence take the wheel, and it drove straight to their doorstep. That's not superstition. It's symmetry. Every lie has gravity, and you simply waited for it to pull them down. Now they look exhausted. The same ones who mocked your patience are crawling through the mess they made. They can't explain why things keep falling apart, why doors keep closing, why peace never lasts. But you can. You've seen the equation play out before. You can't destroy what's pure without corrupting yourself in the process. That's the part that makes them restless. You never had to lift a finger. They tried to ruin you with effort, and life ruined them with ease. Their downfall wasn't dramatic. It was systematic. You let karma handle the accounting while you invested in becoming untouchable. That's the real power. Not rage, not revenge, restraint. You don't win by striking back. You win by becoming proof that truth ages better than deceit. They thought they'd buried you, but you were just being planted. They thought silence meant defeat, but silence was your detonator. And when the smoke cleared, everyone could see it. The one who didn't react became the one who endured. You didn't scream for justice, you embodied it. You turned patience into punishment. You let consequence speak louder than retaliation, and now their own echoes won't let them sleep. Number 6. You exposed their filth by remaining unstained. They tried to dirty your name but forgot. Clean things reflect light, and filth hates its own reflection. You didn't fight their rumors, you outlasted them. Every word they spit turned to ash the moment it hit your energy. They tried to smear your image, but the stain didn't stick. It exposed their hands instead. That's the thing about integrity. It doesn't argue, it reveals. You didn't need to clear your name. The truth was magnetic enough to separate itself from their dirt. You just stood there, calm, grounded, radiant, and watched the mud fall off before it even touched you. They threw dirt, hoping it would bury you. Instead, you grew from it. Imagine this. They're tossing handfuls of mud, desperate to see you flinch, but all it does is slide off like rain off marble. That's what purity does. It rejects contamination. You didn't get lucky, you got disciplined. You didn't escape unhurt, you just refused to mutate. Pain didn't twist you, lies didn't reshape you. You let the chaos howl, but your character stayed still like stone. You became proof that truth doesn't shout, it shines. And in a world full of performance, you became the exception that burned through illusion. Every insult aimed at you illuminated who they really were. They couldn't hurt you because your integrity made their tactics obsolete. You were built from something their kind can't comprehend. Honor that doesn't need an audience, peace that doesn't need proof. When you're made of truth, attacks become confessions. That's exactly what happened. Each attempt to discredit you ended up discrediting them. They lied, twisted and gossiped, and people started noticing the pattern. The more they tried to dim your reputation, the clearer your light became. Because truth doesn't compete with noise, it waits for silence, and silence always comes. They expected you to panic, to defend, to shout, "That's not true," but you understood something sharper. Desperation defends, dignity doesn't. You stayed silent, not because you were weak, but because you knew your composure would do the talking, and it did. The same crowd that once believed the lies now studies your calm and realizes no one that steady could have been what they said you were. Imagine fire trying to burn water. That's what their attacks looked like. You didn't resist. You dissolved the impact. Your peace suffocated their attempts at chaos. You made serenity look like a shield. That's why they hate you now. You didn't just survive. You made surviving look sacred. Character is the armor no smear campaign can pierce. They tried to drag you into the mud so you'd look like them, but you refused to step down from your level. You stayed clean, not because you were untouched, but because you refused to get comfortable in filth. They'll never understand that kind of strength, how someone can bleed and still not turn bitter. You didn't deny your pain, you just didn't weaponize it. You let wounds become wisdom, not vengeance, and that's where they lost. They mistook your restraint for guilt, but time corrected the narrative. Slowly, the truth peeled their image apart until nothing was left but exposure. Every lie they told started circling back, louder and heavier, until they drowned in their own deceit. You didn't need revenge. Watching truth resurrect itself was enough. Now they can't say your name without tasting regret. They can't mention you without that flicker of shame behind their smile. You've become the living contradiction to their slander. You proved that clean doesn't mean passive. It means powerful enough not to roll in dirt, just to win. That's what makes you unforgettable. You didn't argue for your purity. You demonstrated it. You didn't lower your vibration to fight lies. You elevated so high the lies suffocated from lack of air. You didn't fight for your reputation. Your reputation fought for you. So let them talk. Let them rewrite history in whispers. You already know how this ends. Mud dries, lies expire, masks slip, and the one who stayed clean walks out untouched. You expose their filth by remaining unstained, and now the world knows who was real all along. Number 7. You proved that power is the ability to restrain yourself. Anyone can throw punches. Only the powerful can hold their hands steady while the world swings first. You didn't lose control. You mastered it. That's the kind of power they can't imitate because it can't be faked. You didn't just stay calm, you chose calm, even when your blood was boiling and the easy path was rage. They wanted a reaction, something they could twist, something loud enough to make them look justified. But you gave them silence. You made control look dangerous. Every moment you held back became proof that power isn't noise, it's precision. They wanted you to explode. You learned to implode instead and rebuild stronger from the inside. Most people think emotion is strength, that yelling means winning, that reacting means relevance. You dismantled that illusion. You showed that self-control is the highest form of dominance. When you refused to play their game, they realized they never had control over you in the first place. You knew their entire strategy depended on getting under your skin, but your peace was a fortress they couldn't enter. You didn't suppress emotion. You directed it. You made anger obey you. That's what makes you untouchable. Imagine this, a match dropped into water. It burns for a moment, then disappears with a hiss. That's how you handled them. They tried to ignite chaos in you, but you drowned it with discipline. You understood the law of reaction. Whoever reacts first loses, so you let them spend their energy while you preserved yours. And when the dust settled, who looked foolish? Not you. Control isn't about staying quiet. It's about knowing exactly when silence hits harder than speech. They called you emotionless, detached, too composed. But those were just words from people allergic to accountability. They can't understand what it takes to stay calm in the face of disrespect, to sit there unbothered while someone self-destructs trying to get a rise out of you. That's not numbness, that's power. You didn't need to shout your worth. You let restraint prove it. You knew timing is everything. You understood that patience isn't passivity, it's preparation. You didn't react in the moment because you were thinking 3 moves ahead. That's what separates rulers from rookies. You waited, watched, calculated. You let life reveal what anger would have ruined, because when you react, you give them direction. When you restrain, you take it back. Imagine watching your enemy dig a hole for you and realizing they're standing in it. That's what restraint does. It turns manipulation into self-sabotage. You didn't stop the trap. You let them walk right into it. Your silence became a strategy session. Your calm was the countdown they didn't hear ticking. Real power isn't domination, it's direction under pressure. They thought silence meant you didn't care. They didn't realize it meant you were conserving energy for evolution. You were letting the noise pass, letting the truth surface, letting the storm reveal who's really built to last. You didn't react because you knew not every battle deserves your presence. Some wars are won by simply not showing up. You didn't need to prove control, you embodied it. Your self-restraint wasn't just emotional maturity, it was tactical superiority. You showed everyone watching that you can't manipulate someone who's not moved by chaos. That's what made them furious. How do you fight someone who won't swing back? How do you defeat someone whose silence makes you expose yourself? And now you carry that mastery like armor. You walk differently. You think slower, sharper, deadlier. People feel your presence before you speak because your energy doesn't leak anymore. It radiates. You're not reactive. You're deliberate. Every word, every move, every silence is a decision, not a reflex. That's power in its purest form, the kind that bends reality without lifting a hand. You taught the world that real strength isn't measured by volume or violence. It's measured by the distance between impulse and action, and the wisdom that fills that gap. You could have destroyed them with rage, but you chose to destroy them with discipline. That's what separates the powerful from the pitiful. One controls emotion, the other is controlled by it. You proved that power isn't about chaos, it's about composure. It's about holding steady when everything else trembles. You didn't just restrain yourself, you refined yourself. You became the still point in a world addicted to noise. And now, those who once mocked your calm are learning to imitate it, realizing too late that silence was never weakness, it was command. Number 8. You showed that victory doesn't always look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like peace. They thought the quiet meant you lost. They didn't realize silence was your victory speech. You reached the level most people never touch, the one where peace becomes the prize. You stopped craving applause. You stopped chasing revenge. You stopped explaining yourself to small minds. You realized that real victory doesn't scream. It breathes. It's not a parade. It's the moment you finally stop caring who misunderstood you. You learned that survival isn't the goal. Serenity is. You didn't win by defeating them. You won by detaching from them. Peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the mastery of not dancing to it. They expected a dramatic ending, some grand act of vengeance. Instead, you walked away quietly, and that silence shook the ground beneath them. You didn't argue, you didn't announce, you just left, carrying everything they tried to take. That's the thing about peace. It looks simple until you realize how much strength it takes to reach it. You showed that the final stage of evolution isn't domination, it's direction. You stopped reacting to what didn't deserve your energy. That's not apathy, that's alignment. Imagine this, a battlefield after the war, smoke fading, silence settling. Everyone's exhausted, still holding weapons, but you're already gone, miles ahead, untouched. That's peace. That's the version of winning they'll never understand. You didn't win against them. You won away from them. You didn't destroy their world. You outgrew it. Walking away isn't weakness, it's walking into wisdom. They can't comprehend how you can be calm after what they did. They mistake your quiet for numbness, your detachment for defeat. But peace isn't passive, it's power without noise. It's the final act of control, choosing not to fight battles beneath your evolution. You reached a point where you no longer needed closure, revenge, or validation. You found peace in knowing that truth doesn't need an audience and karma doesn't need an assistant. That's what victory really is, when the storm no longer affects your sky. You went through betrayal, humiliation, and chaos, and somehow came out softer, not shattered. You faced ugliness and didn't let it harden you. You lost people, pride, illusions, but not yourself. That's triumph. You became a reminder that peace isn't weakness, it's evidence of mastery. You stopped needing to win arguments because you already won your peace of mind. You didn't lose anything, you revealed everything. And now, when people look at you, they don't see what you survived, they see how you carry it. That's what astonishes them. You didn't become bitter, you became balanced. You turned pain into perspective, chaos into clarity, and humiliation into higher ground. You taught that peace is the ultimate flex, the final stage of revenge, because nothing bothers those who have already transcended. So stand tall, chosen one. You've walked through betrayal and came out composed. You've faced humiliation and walked away dignified. You've seen darkness and refused to kneel. That's not luck, that's evolution. And evolution isn't loud. It's quiet, clean, unstoppable. If this message hits something deep in you, share it. Let the world see what peace looks like when worn by a survivor. You are proof that grace still wins, that light still prevails, and that no amount of filth, no public attack, no disgusting situation can defeat a chosen one who knows peace is the final crown. You didn't just win, you ended the war. And now you see it, the full circle, the storm, the silence, the survival, all leading here. You didn't just endure, you evolved. You turned the ugliest situations into your personal revolution. You didn't get lucky, you got legendary. The peace you wear now, it's your victory medal. You proved that class outlasts chaos, and dignity always wins the final round. If this message hit your soul, don't just keep it, amplify it. Drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your peace. Hit that like button, subscribe for more truths like this, and share this message with every silent warrior you know.